At the meeting about who would get Mom and Dad's things in our family house in Tampa, my older brother Oren stood up like he owned the room. He tapped his glass and smiled really big. Then he said, "Mom and Dad decided to give all 8 of the houses we rent out in Florida to me. Vera, sorry you get nothing." The room went crazy. People cheered and whistled. Someone even shouted. My cousins patted Oren on the back. His fiancée, Sable, looked like she had just won a big prize. Mom wiped a tear from her eye and looked proud. But I didn't clap. I didn't even blink. I just looked at Dad and said, "Calm as ever, Dad. You forgot one thing, didn't you?" Dad's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. Oren's smile disappeared. Sable stopped drinking her drink. Everyone went super quiet. You could even hear the air conditioner humming. And in that 1 second, everyone in the room knew the plan they had been practicing for months was about to fall apart. But before I continue, hit the subscribe button and tell me where are you watching this from, and what time of day is it? Now, I'll tell you how we got here. My name is Vera Whitlock. If you had met my family before that meeting, you might have thought we were perfect. Big house in South Tampa, boats in the driveway, perfect Christmas card smiles every December. But those pictures didn't show the quiet rules that ran our family behind closed doors. Oren has always been the son everyone paid attention to. From the moment he came home from the hospital, people noticed him. They listened to him first, forgave him fastest. He was the Little League coach's favorite high school quarterback, and he stayed in Tampa to help Grandma Marigold with her rental houses as soon as he graduated. Every family barbecue ended with someone slapping his back and saying he was the future of the Whitlock family. He loved it. I learned early that I lived in the shadow he made. Teachers mixed up our names until Oren laughed and corrected them. Birthday cakes went to him first. His gifts opened loudest. His stories were retold, but mine were ignored. When I asked for extra math tutoring in middle school, Mom said we couldn't afford it because Oren needed new cleats. When I got a full scholarship to the University of Georgia, Dad only said, "Guess someone has to leave Florida." So I did. On my 22nd birthday, I packed all my things into my old car and drove north on I-75 until Tampa was just a little light in the rearview mirror. Atlanta gave me my first real breath without someone else's shadow over me. I started as a junior analyst at a company that managed apartments and stores. I learned how houses and buildings work, how people can own them, and how ownership can be moved quietly if you know what you're doing. I still came home sometimes, but only when Grandma Marigold asked. She was the only person who never compared me to Oren. She never asked why I couldn't just be happy like my brother. She would sit on her porch looking at the bay, her Gialeric hair in a twist, and listen to me talk about houses and money like it was poetry. Some weekends, she would hand me the keys to a rental house and tell me to walk through it alone, feel what it was like to really own something, even if no one else knew it yet. Those visits were like oxygen to me. She never called me the smart one or the independent one just to be nice. She just looked at me and said things like, "You see things clearly, Vera. That's rarer than money." When I left on Sunday nights, she would give me a cold sweet tea and remind me the drive was only 9 hours, not forever. Everyone else barely noticed me. Mom stopped calling except about holidays. Dad only called if Oren needed help. I became the daughter who did her own thing, which in our family meant the one nobody had to care about anymore. I didn't hate Oren. Hate takes energy I didn't want to waste. I just accepted the rules like you accept hot weather in July. You wear lighter clothes, keep moving, and don't complain. Atlanta promoted me to senior property analyst 2 years ago. I bought a small condo in Midtown, filled it with plants that actually survived because nobody else was there to forget to water them, and built a life where people didn't measure me against someone else. The only tie left was Grandma Marigold. Every visit, she got a little thinner and quieter, but her eyes stayed sharp. She started asking more questions about trusts and how to keep the houses safe from people who love too loudly and manage too loosely. I answered because she was the one person who never used my knowledge to help someone else. She passed away quietly 13 months ago. I drove home for the funeral and stood in the back while Oren gave the eulogy. Everyone cried and felt her absence in their bones. That's who I was the day I went back to the house in Tampa for the inheritance meeting. I had been away for 9 years and carried one very old woman's trust in me. 3 years ago, everything changed without anyone knowing. Grandma Marigold called me on a Tuesday evening and asked me to come the next weekend. No explanation, just that she needed my eyes on something. When I arrived at her house in St. Pete, she was already on the porch with 2 folders and a pot of very strong coffee. She didn't waste time on small talk. She gave me the first folder and told me to look at bank statements, rental income, and expenses for the 8 houses. The numbers told the truth. Over the past 18 months, more than $400,000 in rent money had disappeared. The papers said it went to maintenance, emergency repairs, and management fees. Many receipts were missing or copied so many times they were hard to read. The handwriting on the few that existed was Oren's. Grandma said she gave him access because he wanted to learn the business. But he learned how to take the money instead. I asked why she didn't tell Mom and Dad. She shook her head. They would have defended him. They would say, "Boys will be boys," and promised he would pay it back someday. But someday never comes and there would be nothing left. Then she gave me the second folder. It had papers for a living trust. She would be the trustee for life, and after she passed, I would get everything. There were also deeds ready to transfer the houses to me immediately. All she needed was my signature and 2 witnesses. She explained it clearly. A living trust keeps everything private until she's gone. Quitclaim deeds make ownership instant and can't be undone. No family lawyers would see the papers unless she wanted them to. I asked why. She looked at the water and said, "Because you understand what these houses really are. Families live here and pay rent so their kids can stay in the same school. You won't gamble that away on boats or parties or toys." I tried to say Oren would be very angry when he found out. She stopped me. He wouldn't find out until it was too late to undo. That was the point. We spent the rest of the weekend going over every detail. She showed me every part of the trust and deed, made sure I understood that once the houses were recorded at the county, they were legally mine, no matter what anyone thought. She even had me initial every page, so no one could claim otherwise. I didn't really know what I was agreeing to yet. I remember sitting on her porch that Saturday afternoon. The sun was shining on the water, and a seagull squawked as it flew overhead. Grandma Marigold smiled and said, "One day, Vera, you'll see why some things must be done quietly. Some people only understand after it's too late to make a mistake." I nodded, feeling a mix of fear and excitement. We went over every house. One had a leaky roof. One had a tenant who was always late paying rent. One had a backyard that needed grass. We made notes, checked the numbers again, and planned for the future. She wanted to make sure I could handle it all without anyone seeing what she had done. Before I left Sunday evening, she pressed a glass of iced sweet tea into my hand and whispered, "You'll do fine. You always do." I drove back to Atlanta with a strange feeling in my chest. I felt strong but also nervous. I knew that when the day came, the family meeting would be full of surprises. And now, almost 3 years later, I was back in Tampa. The same house, the same room, but everything had changed. Oren thought he was about to get all the houses. The room was full of family, cousins, aunts, uncles, even neighbors peeking in. Everyone was ready to celebrate his big win. But I had the papers. I had the proof. I had Grandma Marigold's faith in me. And in that moment, I realized that sometimes being quiet and patient is the most powerful thing in the world. When I spoke, my words were calm. "Calm as ever, Dad. You forgot one thing, didn't you?" That one sentence made the whole room stop. Every eye turned to Dad, then to Oren, then to me. And in that silence, I felt a small thrill. It was the first time in my life I had the power that Oren always had. The look on Oren's face was priceless. His confident smile was gone. Sable froze, unsure what to do. And Mom, she finally realized that maybe the world wasn't as simple as she thought. She had loved Oren with her whole heart, but she had never really seen me until now. I could feel the weight of everything Grandma Marigold had taught me. She had believed in me, trained me, and trusted me with the responsibility of her life's work. And I wasn't going to let her down. Not now, not ever. On Monday morning, the notary arrived right at 9 o'clock. I could hear the ceiling fan clicking softly above us in the dining room. Grandma Marigold's hand didn't shake at all, even though we were signing very important papers. I was a little nervous, but she seemed calm and strong. After the notary left, Grandma poured us both a tiny bit of bourbon, even though it wasn't even noon yet. She clinked her glass against mine and said, "Now it's done." Then she leaned closer and said something very important. "We have to keep this a secret," she whispered. "You have to promise me that you will never tell anyone. Not until the day comes when someone tries to take what is no longer theirs to give." She looked right at me, her eyes serious. I nodded. I gave her my word. That night, we burned the extra copies of the papers in the outdoor fireplace. We watched the smoke curl up into the sky above the palms, curling like little ghosts. For the next 2.5 years, nothing seemed different. Everything looked the same, but underneath things had changed. Orrin kept collecting the rent checks from the tenants and bragging about all the properties he owned. Mom and Dad kept praising him, saying how responsible he had become. I kept driving down from Atlanta every couple of months. Grandma asked me to check on the tenants and fix the things that really needed fixing, not make up reasons to spend money. Nobody noticed that the county records now said I, Vera Whitlock, was the owner of the properties. Nobody ever looked. Grandma's health started getting worse. She spent more days in bed and fewer days on the porch watching the sun and birds. But every time I visited, she asked the same question. Still our secret? I always answered yes. It became our little ritual. 2 words that meant everything. The last time I saw her alive, she held my hand so tightly that her ring cut into my skin. Remember, she whispered, paper beats promises every single time. Then she smiled like someone who had just won a secret bet that nobody else even knew existed. 7 months ago, right after Grandma's funeral, Mom called me. She asked me to stay an extra day. We need to talk about the property, she said, her voice soft and serious like she had bad news. I knew what that meant. Everyone was going to come to the house the next day. The whole family, looking at the house before the will was even read. I almost said no, but something in her voice sounded final, so I agreed. The next afternoon, the dining room looked like a board meeting. Dad sat at the head of the table, sleeves rolled up, a legal pad in front of him. Orrin lounged to his right, legs stretched out, already acting like he was the boss. Mom kept refilling coffee, but nobody drank. A stack of crisp, official-looking papers sat in the middle of the table. Dad pushed the top one toward me. It's just a simple paper, he said. We're keeping everything in the family, but we need you to sign that you're not expecting any of the rental houses. I looked at the title. Waiver of Inheritance Interest Real Property. 8 addresses were listed neatly. My heart stayed calm. I had seen worse surprises before, and I knew what I was supposed to do. Mom jumped in before I could speak. Sweetheart, it's just paperwork. Orrin will handle everything day to day. It makes sense. This just keeps things peaceful. Orrin smirked and spun a pen in his fingers. Yeah, Vera. Nobody wants lawyers. Sign it and we're good. I slid the paper back just a little. I wasn't signing it. The room felt colder suddenly. Dad's eyebrows shot up. Mom froze with the coffee pot halfway to her mouth. Come on, don't be difficult, Dad said. This isn't about taking anything from you. It's about clarity. I looked him straight in the eyes. I won't sign away what Grandma meant for me. Silence. Orrin stopped spinning the pen. Mom tried the emotional approach. Your grandmother wanted the family taken care of. She'd hate to see us fighting. I didn't blink. She's not here to see anything, is she? And I'm not fighting. I'm just not giving up my rights. Dad leaned forward, voice lowering like it used to when I was 10 and late for curfew. Vera, we're trying to do this the easy way. Orrin's put years into those houses. I almost laughed. Years of putting money into his own pocket, maybe. Orrin finally spoke, irritation cracking through his fake calm. You live in Atlanta. You don't even want them. Why make this hard? Because they're not yours to give, I said. Mom's eyes filled with tears. We just want everyone happy after everything we've been through. Losing Mom, classic move. Bring up the recent death to make me feel cruel for refusing. I stood up. I'm sorry you're upset, but I'm not giving anything away. Dad slammed the table hard enough to make the cups rattle. This is ridiculous. You're acting like we're stealing from you. I picked up my keys. No, I'm acting like someone who knows exactly what's hers. Orrin stood up too, face red. You're being selfish. Typical. I walked to the door and paused just long enough to deliver one line. Selfish is thinking you can erase someone's wishes with a signature because it's convenient. Mom called after me, voice cracking. Vera, please don't leave like this. I didn't turn around. I'll see you when you're ready to respect what Grandma actually wanted. The screen door slammed behind me. I heard Orrin mutter something about me always playing the victim, Dad telling him to calm down, and Mom starting to cry for real this time. I got in my car, rolled down the windows, and let the hot Florida air hit my face. I drove the entire 9 hours back to Atlanta. They spent the next weeks thinking I was throwing a tantrum. There were group texts about healing and moving forward as a family. Dad left 2 voicemails that got angrier and angrier. Orrin sent a single message. Grow up. I didn't reply to any of it. Instead, I printed fresh copies of the recorded deeds, filed them in a fireproof folder, and waited. I knew they were busy writing whatever story made them the heroes, and me the problem child who couldn't let go of a grudge. They had no idea the grudge wasn't mine to let go of. 2 weeks ago, an invitation arrived in my mailbox in Atlanta. Thick cream cardstock with a gold border, formal celebration of Marigold Whitlock's legacy, printed in raised letters. Inside was a note in Mom's perfect cursive handwriting. Please join us to honor Grandma's wishes and celebrate the future of the family properties. Saturday at 3. We've missed you. I knew exactly what it was. The victory lap they thought they had earned. The family chat exploded the same day. Orrin posted a selfie in front of one of the rental houses with the caption, "Big things coming for the Whitlock portfolio." Sable commented, "Heart emojis and so proud of my future husband." Aunts and cousins liked every word. Someone even joked, "Vera better show up this time." I didn't reply, but I cleared my weekend and packed the rolling suitcase I usually take on business trips. Inside went 3 folders with labeled tabs in different colors and a flash drive with every single recorded document scanned in high resolution. I zipped it shut, loaded it in the car before dawn on Friday, and pointed south on I-75 for the 9-hour drive I could now do with my eyes closed. The closer I got to Tampa, the thicker the tension felt, even through the windshield. Billboards gave way to palm trees, then familiar exit signs. Every mile marker reminded me why I had left and why I was coming back now. I stopped once for gas outside Ocala and checked my phone. 23 new messages were waiting in the family thread, all variations of excitement about Orrin stepping up. Dad sent a private text looking forward to putting everything behind us. I left it to read. By the time I crossed the Howard Franklin Bridge, the bay sparkled under the afternoon sun. My stomach had settled into the cold calm I get before closing a multi-million-dollar deal. I wasn't nervous anymore. I was ready. I pulled into the old neighborhood just after noon on Saturday. Cars were already lined up on the street. Cousins from Orlando. Uncle Alaric from Naples, the property manager who had been sending rent checks to the wrong person for years. White tents dotted the backyard. Caterers unloaded Alarics of shrimp and mini crab cakes. A bartender set up under the oak tree. This wasn't a meeting. It was a coronation. Mom spotted me from the driveway and hurried over in heels with arms wide open like nothing had happened. "You made it. Everyone's asking about you." She hugged me too tight, perfume filling the air. Dad followed, clapping my shoulder with the fake cheer menus when pretending everything is fine. "Good to have the whole family together," he said, eyes flicking to the suitcase in my hand. Orrin appeared on the porch with Sable glued to his side, both holding mimosas. He lifted his glass in a mock toast. "Look who decided to grace us with her presence." Sable giggled and whispered something that made him laugh louder. A few cousins waved awkwardly. Most pretended not to notice the cold tension between us. Inside, the house smelled like lemon polish and ambition. Framed photos of Orrin shaking hands with tenants lined the entry table. A blown-up copy of the county tax map sat on an easel. Red circles were drawn around all 8 addresses. Someone had even printed glossy brochures titled, "Whitlock Family Rentals, A New Era." I wheeled my suitcase straight through the living room and parked it beside the couch, right in everyone's line of sight. Mom's smile faltered for half a second. Dad cleared his throat. I was ready to show them that nothing had changed. I had Grandma's secret, and I had her papers. Everything she wanted from me was still mine. No one could take it away. Orrin raised one eyebrow but didn't say anything. He just stood there, watching as more people kept arriving at the house. The living room was starting to get crowded. The family lawyer, Mr. Brenner, shook hands with people, smiling politely, and accepted congratulations like he had already done everything perfectly. Some of the people who had rented Grandma Marigold's houses came too. They looked a little confused but also happy, probably because there was free food. Orrin's old friends patted him on the back, laughing and asking him when the houses would officially be his. I tried to talk to some people quietly, while Corner took a bottle of water and watched the room with a look that said everything was already decided. Every time someone congratulated my brother, it felt like they were building a wall that was meant to keep me out. I could feel it. Every smile, every handshake, every good job, aimed at Orrin felt like a brick in that wall. Sable floated past me, wearing a bright sundress, a diamond ring sparkling on her left hand, catching every bit of light in the room. "This is going to be our future," she said, pointing at the brochures on the table as if she were talking to a group of ants crawling across the carpet. She went on about having 8 steady ways to make money even before we said, "I do." Orrin's face lit up. He put his arm around her waist and accepted the praise like it was something he had been born to receive. I stayed by the window, holding the handle of my suitcase, counting the faces in the room. About 32 people, give or take a few. That was enough witnesses, so that no one could later claim they didn't see what was happening. The living room was full, warm and buzzing with chatter, when Orrin finally stood up. His voice rose over the conversations as he lifted a champagne glass in the air, smiling that practiced smile like he had done this 100 times before. "I just want to thank Mom and Dad for trusting me with Grandma Marigold's legacy," he said. "As of today, all 8 rental properties are officially mine. The family tradition continues stronger than ever." Everyone lifted their glasses. Cheers filled the room. A cousin started clapping, then everyone joined in, the noise bouncing off the walls like it might never stop. I waited. I waited until the clapping and cheering was at its loudest, until the room was so full of excitement that no one could hear a single whisper. Then I rolled my suitcase forward. The wheels clicked across the hardwood floor. Every head turned. The clapping died in midair. All eyes were on me. I stopped beside the coffee table, clicked the latches, and flipped the lid open. Neatly stacked inside were papers, thick stacks, perfectly arranged. 30 pairs of eyes looked at the suitcase. Dad was the first to find his voice. "Vera, what is this?" he asked, almost whispering. I didn't answer yet. I pulled out the first quit-claim deed, held it up so the notary seal caught the light, and laid it face up on the table. Then came the second, the third, and all 8 deeds in total, each one showing Grandma Marigold's bold signature and the raised seal from the county clerk. Next, I pulled out the revocable living trust. It was thick and heavy, the pages highlighted in calm yellow where the important details were. I laid it on top like a period at the end of a sentence. Only then did I look at Dad. "You really forgot this existed, didn't you?" I asked. Dad's face turned pale, and I thought he might faint. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. Orrin stared at the papers as if they were written in a language he could not read. Mr. Brenner, the family attorney, stepped forward, adjusting his glasses. He picked up the trust, first flipping to the signature page, then to the schedule of assets listing every house. His fingers moved quickly as he checked each quit-claim deed against the county records. He looked up slowly. "These are recorded," he said, his voice flat. "All of them. 3 years ago. Vera is the legal owner of the record. There is nothing left to distribute. Legally, the properties belong to Vera. End of discussion." You could almost hear ice melting in the forgotten glasses on the table. Orrin lunged for the documents. "That's impossible," he shouted. "Grandma was sick. She didn't know what she was signing." Mr. Brenner did not hand over the papers. "I notarized these documents myself," he said. "The handwriting matches. The notary is licensed. These are legal and binding." I finally spoke, my voice calm and clear. Grandma knew exactly what she was doing. She made sure the houses went to someone who would protect the tenants, not take advantage of them. Dad tried to stand up, but then sank back down hard. "She never told us," he said, his voice cracking. "No," I said. "She didn't. I'm just the one following through. Today is the day someone finally honored her wishes." Orrin's face twisted with anger. "You hid this the whole time. You let us plan everything as if it was yours." "I let you plan what you thought was yours," I said. "Grandma asked me to wait until someone tried to take what she had already given away. Today seemed like the day." Mr. Brenner closed the trust with a soft thud that sounded like the final word. "The legal matter is settled. The properties belong to Vera. There is nothing more to discuss." Aunts shifted uneasily in their chairs. Cousins exchanged glances. The property manager, who had been congratulating Orrin just minutes before, now looked like he wanted to vanish into the floor. Mom whispered, almost choking, "How could you do this to your own son?" I looked at her. "I didn't do anything. Grandma did. I am only following her instructions." Orrin slammed his glass down so hard that the stem snapped. Champagne spilled over one of the deeds, soaking the corner. I didn't flinch. "You think you've won," he spat. "I didn't come here to win," I said. "I came here to make sure Grandma's wishes were followed." The room stayed frozen. Nobody moved to clean the spill. Nobody moved at all. Sable's glass slipped from her hand and shattered on the floor. Champagne splashed across the shoes and ankles. She didn't bend down to pick up the pieces. She just stared at me, her mouth open, then at Orrin, then back at the papers. Without a word, she grabbed her purse, pushed past 2 cousins, and walked straight out the front door. The screen slammed behind her. Nobody went after her. Orrin's face went from red to purple. He snatched the living trust from Mr. Brenner's hands and started flipping pages wildly. "This is fake," he shouted. "She forged it. Grandma was on medicine. She didn't know what day it was. Mr. Brenner remained calm. He turned to the signature page and began reading aloud, slow and deliberate. Article 4, Section 2. Upon the death of Marigold Whitlock, all real property listed in the schedule shall pass immediately to successor trustee Vera Whitlock, free of probate. He read every word, every clause, every sentence. When he reached the notary acknowledgement and recorded dates, Orrin's yelling faded into heavy breathing. Then Larkin, my quiet middle brother, stepped forward. My brother, who had always blended into the walls and never spoke up, now had his voice. "She's telling the truth," he said. "I was there the day Grandma signed. She asked me to drive her to the notary because she didn't want Mom or Dad to know. I waited in the car. She came out smiling. She made me promise to keep it a secret, just like she made Vera promise." Every head in the room swiveled toward him. Mom crumpled onto the couch, hands over her face, shoulders shaking. Dad slid down to the rug, reaching toward me like I was the only solid thing in the room. "Vera, honey, please, we didn't know. We can fix this. We can redo everything. Just don't take it all away from your brother," Dad said, his voice breaking. Tears ran down his cheeks. Real tears. Mom reached for my hand, mascara streaking her face. "We thought we were doing what was best for the family," she whispered. "We thought Orrin needed it more. You're doing so well on your own." I pulled my hand back. "This is Grandma's decision, not mine," I said. Orrin lunged again at me, fists ready. Larkin moved faster, stepping between us, one palm pressing against Orrin's chest. "Back off," Larkin said low and firm. Orrin stopped, breathing hard, fists useless against my brother's steady hand. Aunts and uncles were frozen. Some had phones half-raised, recording. The property managers slipped out quietly. The caterers hovered, unsure whether to keep serving or clean up the mess. Dad stayed on his knees, defeated. "We'll sell the boats. We'll take second mortgages. Whatever it takes to fix this," he said. Mom sobbed into a throw pillow. "Please, Vera. Don't hate us." I looked at both of them, then at Orrin shaking with rage, then at Larkin standing steady. "I don't hate you," I said. "But I'm done fixing things for people who never saw me as part of the solution." I closed the suitcase, latched it, and stood upright. Mr. Brenner cleared his throat. "I'll prepare the notices for all tenants and banks on Monday. Ownership transfer is already complete. This is purely administrative." Orrin made a sound like a wounded animal. Mom wailed into the pillow. Dad stared at the floor. I picked up my keys. 3 months later, the dust had settled, but nothing was the same. Orrin's name disappeared from every lease, bank account, and vendor contract. Tenants got new instructions with my name on top. Most never even noticed. Rent stayed the same. Repairs were done faster. Nobody tried to charge them for fake work anymore. The IRS notice arrived the week after the meeting. Years of writing off personal vacations and trucks as property expenses finally caught up with Orrin. They froze the rest of his accounts and slapped a lien on anything left in his name. He lawyered up with money he didn't have and lost anyway. The final penalty came in at over 6 figures. He is still paying it off in small payments that will follow him for years. Mom and Dad put the big house on the market 30 days later. The boats went first, then the jet skis, then Mom's jewelry. They moved into a small 2-bedroom condo near Carrollwood with a view of a parking lot instead of the bay. Dad retired early because the stress gave him heart palpitations. Mom started working part-time at a boutique to cover groceries. They stopped hosting holidays. Nobody felt like celebrating. Sable sent the ring back by mail. No note. Orrin moved into a small studio apartment downtown and got a job selling cars. Sometimes he drives past the rental properties, slows down, then speeds away when he sees my management sign in the yard. Larkin texts me every few weeks. Short messages. Nothing heavy. He is the only one I answer. He says the rest of the family talks about me like I am dead instead of Grandma Marigold. I tell him that works for me. I stayed in Atlanta. Rental income covers my mortgage and more. I hired a local management company run by women who actually answer calls within an hour. Vacancies dropped. Tenant satisfaction went up. Every month, the money comes in clean and quiet. I bought 2 more properties last quarter. Smaller deals, but mine from day one. No family has tried to reach me. No letters, no emails, no drive-by visits. The last voicemail was from Mom 2 months ago, crying, asking me to come for Christmas. I deleted it and blocked the number the same day. Some nights, I sit on my balcony, looking at the city lights below, thinking about the little girl who used to beg for math tutoring while her brother got new cleats. That girl learned that the world rewards the loudest voice in the room until someone finally speaks with proof. Blood doesn't guarantee loyalty. It never did. The only thing that ever protected me was an old woman who saw the future clearly enough to put it in writing, and a promise I kept when it mattered most. I still have the fireproof folder. Every deed, trust page, and recorded stamp sits inside on the top shelf of my closet. I don't look at it often. I don't need to. The houses pay the bills. Tenants stay happy. My phone stays silent from anyone who once called themselves family. Grandma Marigold was right. Paper beats promises every single time. And some doors, once you close them, stay closed for good.